Welcome to the Writer's Journey podcast. I'm Michael Laran, a science fiction and fantasy author on a journey to go from nobody to bestseller, and I'm documenting every step of the way. Tune in every week as I pull back the curtain on my writing life and how I'm building a writing career while working a full-time job, raising a family, and attending law school classes in the evenings. You can find show notes for this week's episode, a free starter library of my fiction, and much more at michaellaran.com. Hello, and welcome to episode 75. So, 75 is kind of an important number, right? You know, 2/3 of the way toward 100. So, in this episode, I'm going to talk about a few things. But first, I want to give a huge shout out to a new patron who's supporting me on Patreon, Linda Washington. So, thank you very much, Linda, for your pledge and for supporting the show and for supporting a working author. Really means a lot. So if you didn't know I had a Patreon page, well, now you do know that I do have a Patreon page. I don't promote it probably as much as I should. You can support the show by visiting patreon.com/Michael Laran. You can find out all the benefits and things like that. But for the last couple books, I've just released those for free to all my patrons. I don't normally do that, but I give benefits every once in a while that maybe you don't expect. So you can find me there if you're interested in supporting the show. And again, huge shout out to Linda. Now, I wanted to let you guys know that the Writer's Journey podcast has surpassed 10,000 downloads for lifetime. So I wish I could say it was 10,000 downloads per month, but 10,000 downloads since it has launched. And that is really, really cool. That's a major milestone. So thank you everyone who listens every week for helping achieve that milestone. That's a pretty big deal. So I like to celebrate milestones, however small they are. So what I wanted to talk about this week, I had two topics that I wanted to spend some time talking about. And I had mentioned this a little bit before, I think last month, where I was talking about how the fall season is my busiest season of the year since I started law school. It seems like my hardest classes are in the fall. And I just, in general, once September hits, things just get really, really crazy for me really, really fast. And so I've learned over the last 2 years to kind of anticipate this. And I'll talk about some things that I'm doing and talk about some things that are going to be on my plate, because it's really going to be very difficult for me to keep my momentum. And so I'm considering this a challenge this year to do the things that I'm talking about. So just some of the things that are going on with me, and I apologize in advance for background noise. I'm recording off cycle again. Can't be helped. But so some things going on with me are, first and foremost, I've got some pretty hard and intensive projects at work going on. So getting involved with a lot of things there. Still in a fairly new job and taking on a lot of responsibilities. It's what you do. And so I've got some pretty intense projects that I'm dealing with at work. And I'm going to be taking my hardest and most brutal law class yet, which will be employment law, which will be talking all things discrimination and hiring and, unfair hostile work environments, things like that. And this class was actually the number one or number two reason that I took law school. So I basically said, I'm going to go to law school. The only reason I'm really going is to really be able to get inside the head of an attorney, right? Think like an attorney. But I'm taking two classes in particular. And if I take these two classes and I guess were to drop out, I would have no remorse or regret whatsoever. And the first class that I wanted to make sure that I took was employment law, right? Because as I scale, as I become more successful, I'm eventually going to have to hire people full-time or part-time. And so being able to understand that and navigate that without having to deal with any potential minefields and landmines, I think is a very, very important thing. The second reason that I took this was contracts, right? And so I've taken a contract class that had heavily contracts and things involved in it. And so that was also a very, very important thing for me, because why? Intellectual property is primarily licensed through contracts. And so understanding contracts, being able to navigate them at a very general level, and then being able to take some of those concepts and apply them to intellectual property was extremely important to me. And something that I, now once I finish this semester, like I said, if I wanted to drop out, I could, but I'm not going to do that. I'm too far into the program to to back out of it. But it just goes to show you that this is going to be a semester that's very, very important. And so I'm probably going to be diverting more resources and more time to this class than I normally would. Law classes are tough, but this one, I think I really want to make sure that I get the most out of it. So that's going to be pretty brutal. And then I'm teaching 2 detailed insurance classes this semester. I mentioned this in previous episodes that I'm doing some teaching of insurance classes, and it's something I enjoy, and it also helps me hone my public speaking skills because I'm doing it through a nonprofit organization, and one of the things that they do is they provide really, really good mentors and training. So I'm getting good public speaking experience. They're helping me with things like physicality and being able to take concepts that are complex and distill them down into very easy to understand things, which has a lot of benefits in Author Level Up, right? So my writing tip of the day podcast is a great example of taking some of the things that I've learned from being an instructor in these classes and applying them to the things that I'm doing in Author Level Up. So that's going to be two classes that are going to be pretty detailed and kind of requiring me to prepare for that. And like I said, it's a complementary thing that I already know the material, so it's just a matter of honing the skill. And so then you probably have noticed if you followed me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram that I've actually developed a daily social media presence. So I've actually been shooting daily videos. So I shoot them on my smartphone. I got a little selfie stick. I basically hold my phone up and I just talk, whatever's on my mind for 2 minutes every day. So I hope to continue that daily social media presence. And that's, if anything, if anything starts falling off, that's one of the things where I've decided I can kind of jettison that for a little while. But people seem to be responding to that a lot. And so I'm getting some good feedback on some of that daily content. So I want to make sure that I continue that, right? And so I'm also running Author Level Up, so continuing weekly videos there. I've actually got enough videos in the slot. I just need to do a few recording sessions, and I will have enough videos to last me through the end of the year. So not terribly concerned about that. That's the thing I'm least concerned about. It's just a matter of sitting down and shooting those videos before class starts. And then just making sure that they're uploaded and locked and loaded and ready to go. And come the beginning of the year, I should be able to be in a much better position to make some more videos and do more seasons and things like that. And then I've got the writer's journey, which I think out of all the things that I'm doing is probably the easiest to do because I really just turn on the microphone and talk. I've also got the Ask Ally member Q&A podcast. That is a monthly commitment, where I podcast with Allies Director Orna Ross. And so I have the responsibility of being the question gatherer. So I go to the spreadsheet database where people can submit their questions, and I pull them and I prepare them and do research if there's something I don't know, and collaborate with Orna. And there's a lot of legwork that goes into doing the show before and then also after, because any questions that we don't answer on the air, we've made a commitment to still answer them. So I give people email responses, and I personally reply to all the emails that we that we don't answer on the show. And so that is a time commitment. And then at the same time, I have a goal of trying to write at least 2 books during the fall, because I don't want the writing to fall by the wayside. So that's a lot of stuff, right? And I've had to, over the last month, really be thoughtful and really be intentional about how I'm going to keep that momentum, right? Because I don't want to miss any weeks of Writer's Journey. Don't want to miss any weeks of writing tip of the day, which I forgot to mention. I'm doing that as well. I don't want to miss any weeks of Author Level Up. I want to make sure that I have a good presence. And so some of that involves batching content. So like with my YouTube videos, I shoot those at least 4 to 6 weeks in advance. For the fall, I'm going to do probably 8 to 12 weeks in advance, just to give me a little bit of cushion, because the workflow, it seems to ebb and flow, right? Like at the end of August when I start class, it's usually not too bad. But it's like right around the middle of October is just when things just get unbearable, right? And so then things loosen up a little bit, and then they get a little bit more complicated right around the time of finals. And so knowing that, I'm trying to batch my content around that with Author Level Up, and then with writing tip of the day, I'm already recorded through November. So I have one more writing session or one more recording session that I'm going to sit down and do, and I'll be good with writing tip of the day through the end of the year. I don't have to worry about it. And actually, I'll be good with writing tip of the day very soon through the end of the end of next year, which is just kind of crazy to think about. But that's a topic for another another show. But writer's journey, that's really not anything that takes me a whole lot of time. I just, like I said, turn on the microphone and I talk. But with the books, that's going to require some forethought. With some of the other projects I'm doing, that's going to require some forethought. And so I can't really batch everything. So I just going to have to be really, really good with my time management. And I think I will be able to say that I got an A in time management at the end of this year, just in terms of my own personal goals, if I can sustain and get through the end of the fall semester without having missed a single week of content. If I can do that, I think I'll have some really, really cool stuff to share about how I did that. So definitely keep me in your prayers and cheer me on as I do that, because it's definitely going to be a challenge. Now, last week I also talked about some disturbing things that I have discovered about social media. Well, I shouldn't say disturbing, but and I shouldn't say discovered, because I guess I knew these things all along, but they're really starting to hit home. And so I talked about some of the things that I'm doing to maybe minimize my social media presence. And I think I've decided that I can't quit social media altogether. That doesn't make sense, because that's where you guys follow me, right? But I am going to start limiting the time that I'm spending on there to maybe once a week. And I'm probably not going to be as responsive to comments as I've been in the past. Still, by all means, still free to tweet me and mention me in comments. But you may find that my response time goes down on social media just because I'm going to be spending less of my time there. The best way to get into contact with me, if you have a question or if you want to let me know about something, is definitely via my contact form. And that's at authorlevelup.com/contact. I do make a very concerted effort to reply to any email that I get within 24 to 48 hours. So if you email me there, that is probably the best way to get my attention. But I'm just going to be thinking about that. But I'll still be posting the daily content. You'll still see some posts from me every now and again. I've switched browsers. I no longer use Google Chrome. I just have an aversion to being tracked, right? When it comes to data and people using data against you. And, you think about politics and you think about all areas of your life. And I don't know, just something about it. I'm just not feeling really good about being tracked or being manipulated or being shown ads that are meant to make me feel a certain way. Just not a very big fan of that. But at the same time, you can't check out from these things altogether, right? So As I figure this out and as I go through this, you'll find me talking about it a lot more. I've been posting on my YouTube community tab, authorlevelup.com/ or youtube.com/authorlevelup, about some thoughts that I've had about this. So if you don't follow me there, if you watch my videos, be sure to check my community tab, because I do post there quite regularly about some of the things I'm thinking. And yeah, so that's really all that's on my mind this week. It's a lot. Like I said, I'm getting ready for crunch time, and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, so I hope everyone is having a fantastic week. I hope that wherever you are, it's not too hot. And I hope that wherever you are, you're getting writing in, because remember, time of great forgetting. I know I've been talking about that for like the last 3 weeks now, but it is a thing. And I don't want any of you to fall prey to the time of great forgetting. So if you're listening to this and you haven't gotten your words in, stop what you're doing right now, stop listening to the show, and go get some words in. So with that, I will plan on talking to you next week, and take care. Thanks for joining me this week. If you enjoyed this episode, you'll enjoy my backlist episodes at michaelaran.com/podcast. For your free starter library of my favorite novels, join my fan club by visiting michaelaran.com/fanclub. If you're a writer and want to connect with me further, check out my YouTube channel, Author Level Up, for helpful writing advice at authorlevelup.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week.